Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 943 of our daily content streak. I'm still not sure how we've made it this far, but we have. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. So, we're doing a topic today that was suggested off of one of my Q&As because this was actually a good idea. And it's one of those where I kind of had to search my own channel 2 or 3 times to make sure I hadn't done it already because it seemed like so obvious. It seems like I had done this before, but apparently not. Apparently I just talk about characters with really bad names and not dedicate an entire video to just really awful Transformer names. So in doing this list, I did a lot of research just to see what other people thought bad names were, and a lot of them are choices without context of the character, which I think is really important when it comes to some of these names. And a lot of it came down to, ha ha, he, hoo hoo, that sound like a dirty thing. That's fine. We've got a section of that in this list too. But then there's very subjective ones. People don't like the name Nexus Prime. Why? People don't like the name Rodimus. If your list of worst Transformer names includes Rodimus, you are not digging far enough. You can have names you personally dislike, but to call it one of the worst names in Transformers, oh, my friend, you need to research. I've done my research. I put together a list. Some of you are going to disagree with this, but you know what? That's why it's my list. We start, of course, with the legend of bad Transformer names, and that would be Prowl 2. Did a whole video on the whole mess of Prowl 2. One of the most confusing and convoluted situations in Transformers. Please go check it out if you can't. Search for it on my channel. It's one of my favorites that I've done in this daily grind. Yeah, this is like the epitome of lazy, right? But we've talked about Prowl 2 at great lengths, so we don't really have to discuss him today. Instead, we can move on to other bad names that I personally do not like Backstop. So there are definitions of the word backstop that kind of fit the character, but it's not the kind of, it's like the least used version of that definition. The last time most of you have heard the term backstop, it's when something hit the fence behind the catcher at a baseball game. A stray ball, a bat that got, fell out of someone's hands after a swing. An errant pitcher who tried to charge home base and got, back body dropped for the sake of it. But that's not the definition. That's what you think of. That's the most common use of the word backstop. It just doesn't sound pleasant. It's just not a heroic name. It's not a name of like a wise elder type. It's just an odd name. It's just super odd. Also odd, Skipjack. Hi guys, I'm Skipjack. Here are my friends, Bone Crusher, Scrapper, Mixmaster, Overload. I'm Skipjack. I like to bounce. You know what a Skipjack is? A Skipjack is a small tuna. This boy literally named himself after a fish. Skipjack. All right, so do you get the feel for it? Yeah, do you get the feel for it? Okay, let's go into some other silly names. How about Mudflap? I've always hated this name. There's nothing intimidating about a Mudflap. There's absolutely nothing intimidating about a Mudflap whatsoever. There's nothing about a Mudflap that makes me think, ooh, scary Decepticon. Also, to the point of, oh, by the way, the character Mudflap's vehicle mode has no Mudflaps. I could go on an entire list of ironic Transformer names like that. Characters named Hubcap, whose toys do not have hubcaps. Camshaft is a really famous one because the model of vehicle that G1 Camshaft uses has no camshaft. There are funny situations like that, but I'm trying to divorce this list from situations like that. I don't put Mudflap on this list because there's no Mudflap in the vehicle mode. I put it on here because the name Mudflap is really stupid. As is Oil Pan. There's a weird period. There's like this weird period where like somewhere like between like for like 5 years, from like 2005 through 2010, where a lot of Transformers just start being named after like random car parts. You know, breakdown started being spelled like the part on the car rather than the car actually having a breakdown. Crumple Zone became a name. Okay. How many people knew what a crumple zone was before you had to look that toy up? And then Oil Pan here. The mighty Decepticon Oil Pan. I guess if you're just a movie character repaint that just has to exist to fill out a toy line, just to fill a wave, you're probably doomed as far as the naming thing goes. Now, these are mostly like, none of these have been like vintage Generation 1 names at this point, so we can get into some of that. How about Gator Rider? You're named after a beverage. You're named after flavored water, is what you are. I understand the pun, okay? I understand how it relates to Croc. It's still a really stupid name. You are named after a beverage with strangely cryptic flavors. I don't know what Glacier Freeze tastes like. Dumb thing to name. Oh, because you're a gator. I get it. It's funny. Haha. Now comes a segment of this video I like to call, "You really weren't paid to try today, were you?" And that starts off with a name like Transito. He's a mosquito who's a transformer, so Transquito. You get it? Do you get it? You get the joke? How about Icebird? Okay, I understand. It's a pun on iceberg. Okay, very clever. It sounds really dumb. It's a polar bear and a bird. So it's Icebird. Here's a couple of my favorites. I don't think anyone disagrees on these two. Rotor. Because he has a rotor. Because he's a helicopter. And then his partner in crime, Movor. Now you might think Movor has some obscure, like source here. Like there's just some like weird thing, like some like really cool mechanical part named a Movor or something like. No, it's because he moves. Like, this is literally from Aaron Archer's mouth. It's because he moves. Oh, it's so lazy. I could have put Mega Octane on here, too. Mega Octane sounds like he's trying way too hard. In a similar vein, I also put Dualor on here because he's got dual things. He's got dual cannons. So he's Dualor. Yeah, hello. Hi, I'm Dualor. Hi, Dualor. I'm leaving. How about Gecko Bot? It's the animal's name with bot attached to it. I will admit, Dinobot could have been on this list, but we can agree Dino sounds cooler than Gecko. Shouldn't have named him Long Arm. Look at him. Look at him. Digits go down to his digits. This, it's not a great toy, is it? It's not a great toy either. Yeah. Gecko Bot. You just literally phoned that one in. Canine. Okay, congratulations. You named a dog Canine. Okay, put a K and a 9 in there. Like the letter K, number 9. Okay, that might sound like a robot's name. Okay, I'll give you that. It's still, again, like Iceberg. I understand what you're doing. Still sounds really dumb. It's like if I got a pet turtle and named it Terrapin. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. Battle Unicorn. He's a unicorn that battles. He's Battle Unicorn. Now, on this one, I don't really seem to blame it because, like, this toy was such a last-minute inclusion. It barely saw release, so it probably barely had any effort put into the trademarking. So maybe it's not his fault that he was just very poorly timed, but, yeah. Battle Unicorn. Legendary shelf warmer at Big Bad Toy Store for about close to a decade. My favorite one that I've mentioned before, Deceptic Charge. Another video from my past I will recommend is looking at the convoluted history of alternators and just how much of a mess that whole toy line was behind the scenes, and things like this came out of it. A name like Deceptic Charge, which was a working name because it was, it was Wind Charger, but a Decepticon. So, Deceptic Charge. And then there's such a mess in this whole franchise's development that you're not gonna look. We can't be bothered anymore. Look, just leave the working name in, and it'll pass trademark because who else is using the word Deceptic Charge? That would be like the worst of the you weren't really trying, right? So let's go into some more. We will stick to some smaller Transformers for a little bit here because small Transformers, especially repaint ones, are really susceptible to getting really bad names, like Monacle. You're named after a piece of archaic eyewear. And you're also not a character who could use a monocle because you have a visor face. Now, originally, this was supposed to be switched with another character as far as naming goes, so maybe not. Maybe that was not the case. Except that character was Kobushi, whose name is also not good and also has a visor. Unless you want to count that little thing on his head as a monocle, that still makes the name really, really stupid. The name Kobushi is really odd, too. It's the Japanese word for fist. So, okay, I can understand if it was on the guy with the big drill hand. But it's still a weird name to throw in because there's no other, names. It's not Pokemon. We're just, occasionally in this franchise, we'll just leave the Japanese, a very Japanese-sounding name alone and just let that ride. We don't do that with, Transformers, all the time. We share names, but, Kobushi is literally you're just a Japanese word out of nowhere. Let's go even farther back into the Micromasters, because those had some fun ones too. When you're doing so many toys, when you have to do 4 individual characters just to get one carded release, when your entire business model at the time is multi-packs, you're going to run out of character names after a while, and the few bad ones are going to slip through, like Tote. I hate to even slam him, because as Micromasters go, he ain't a bad one. He's kind of fun little guy for a Micromaster, but your name's Tote. Your name is Tote. What am I going to do with that? Jeez. He's got teammates like Hyperdrive, Powertrain. Tote. No. I can't work with that. I can't work with you, Tote. How about Hole Punch? I get it. A bullet will punch a hole in things, but it's not what I think of when I think of a hole punch. I think of office equipment. You're named after office equipment. It's not the best thing. It's not the most intimidating thing in the world, Slowpoke. We acknowledge that in Transformers, for the most part, it seems like they are able to change their identities when they want. They're able to switch up their names. Orion Pax can become Optimus Prime. Trailbreaker can become Trail Cutter. Why would you intentionally leave the name Slowpoke? I don't care if you're a monster truck. I'm not putting anyone on a mission named Slowpoke, okay? Unless, back to the Pokemon thing. No. No. Here's my favorite duo. Here's a duo. If you want to talk about why would you let yourself be named that, why would you not seek a legal name change at this point? Misfire. Why would you ever give a gun to a character named Misfire? Oh, that's fine because the gun is named Aimless. So between misfiring and being completely aimless, maybe the two counteract each other and will get off a good shot once in a while. Maybe. Why would you? I get the joke of it, but it doesn't make for the most convincing sounding villain, Now, here is the dirty portion of the list. I want to remind everyone, I'm not going to make elaborations over these names as to why that they are bad Transformer names. I am simply going to read the list, and you are going to make decisions for yourself, understanding that all of the things I am about to name are completely normal things in the real world. If they happen to sound dirty, that is entirely your brain doing that, okay? All right, let us begin. lube, blowpipe, blowout, backblast, backwind, windbreaker, heave, discharge, erector. Did everyone have a good giggle at that? All right, so you knew those names would be in here. We can all move on now, right? Okay. We did it. We got through it. Bisque. I understand going for the more animalistic thing for the Decepticons in RID 15, and you know what? I don't disagree with it. I thought it was a cool spin. I thought it gave them a unique flair and character. You name the man after soup. This Decepticon is named after soup. I'm sorry. You've had better names. There are vintage names. You know, Power Pinch could have worked on this guy. You know? Double Punch could have worked on this guy. You named him Soup. It's not even like a cup of soup. It's just literally just the soup with nothing to go in it. You need a cup for that soup. Cup's a dumb name too. Let's be honest here, okay? Like, I don't care if you spelled it with a K. His name's Cup. He's named after something that you drink milk out of. No, his name's Cup. I like a race cup, right? Competing for a cup in NASCAR, or getting awarded a cup. He's a truck. He doesn't race. He's not a racer. There's nothing about Cup that has ever been associated with racing. This is where I tell you that context to the character name is also important here. Dumb name. Lug. Now, when it's the IDW character and she transforms into a backpack, the name Lug kind of works, kind of makes sense. This is someone's headmaster. It's Hosehead's headmaster. Hosehead also not a great name, by the way. There's a whole bunch of ones we go. There's Cementhead comes to mind too. These are not great names. Names that imply that your brain doesn't work. Bird Brain also comes to mind. Not exactly the thing that you want a soldier to have. But no, Lug. Now, it's a Nebulon. The Nebulons tended to have these weird sci-fi space alien kind of names, so I kind of were gentle and left them off the list. His name's Lug. This one's name is Lug. Slapper. I hate the name. I've always hated this name. What is scary about someone named Slapper? I mean, I get it. Frog. I get it. I get some context to it. Like, his name's Slapper. You named a Dinobot that later on. You named an Ankylosaurus because of his tail club. You named him Slapper? Slapper. You could at least, if you're going to name him after a physical attack, you could at least make it something punchier. Like, this isn't a good name either, right? The name Punch is so basic and boring, right? We already we have to acknowledge that, right? And then the name Counter Punch. Okay, I get it. You're going with boxing terms for this. You're telling me that there wasn't a better name play here for a character that is, masquerading as a Decepticon who supposedly has like a good brother, evil brother thing going on when it's really the same guy. Like, you couldn't come up with something better than Punch Counter Punch? Ugh. And we're going to go with one last name. Now, you've noticed throughout this list, I haven't gone to any of the Japanese G1 names where some things get super weird. And frankly, a lot of Japanese names get weird. Because in Japan, most people don't speak a whole lot of English. So English words that sound kind of basic to us and silly are exotic names over there. It's like Kobushi. Kobushi's an exotic name in the US. So it kind of makes sense, and there's that context. So I've left them off this list entirely. I've also left off a lot of stuff from comic books that are just comic book names. I stuck to things that were toys because they have to be marketed under these names, which means there's a little bit more on the line than just like naming a random character on a comic book page. But you notice I've stuck to everything that's been released in the United States. So I want to go overseas just once. But I'm not going to Japan, I'm going to the UK. So we're just keeping this to English-released Transformer toys as far as this list goes. I could expand in so many different directions if I was going with Japanese names. But there is one from the UK I have to bring up, and that is Calcar. This might be the Transformer name I hate the most. What is a Calcar? What is a Calcar? I googled it. Calcar is a piece of cartilage in a bat. You named a Decepticon after an obscure body part of a bat. I don't know. I don't know. The thing is, I have a Calcar. I specifically got him because the name is so stupid it makes me laugh. So, that's about as dumb as I can get for now. Keep in mind, there's thousands of Transformer names at this point. This is hardly a conclusive list. These are just the ones that I came up with doing the research I did. So, if you've got dumb names, please leave them in the comments below. There is easily room for round 2 of this at some point. And yeah, hope you had fun with this. Because at least I did, at least doing the research. So, thank you everyone for watching. I will see you next time.